Hello, everyone. I'm Brian Bowden, the VP of Technology at Dunaway, and I'm joined with Logan Welsh, who's one of our innovation specialists. Dunaway is a Texas-based planning, design, and engineering firm with offices across all major Texas cities with around 400 total employees. We're celebrating our 70th anniversary this year, but we have a very forward-thinking and young leadership group that is heavily focused on being at the leading edge of AI in our industry. One unique thing about Logan and I is that we are both practicing engineers that have transitioned into our newly created innovation group to bring that vision to reality. This gives us a unique perspective in identifying problems and solving them in a way that fits our company's current processes. We've been building momentum towards this vision over the last couple of years by doing things like establishing internal committees, engaging with technology consultants like our partners at Microsoft, and attending conferences. We're now actively deploying solutions using Power Platform that are changing the way we do business. Before we get into the main part of our presentation, we want to start with a poll using the link that was just shared. Please take a few seconds to answer this before we get going. So the poll question we've presented is, how on board is your senior leadership with AI innovation at your company? And we have it listed with 4 different options there. So please take a second to answer that.
Oh, very cool. Okay. Are these responses that you guys expected or better?
It's definitely better. It's great. We have a really good audience of people who are in the same boat as us, which is fantastic.
Probably the type of people you'd see on a CAT webinar.
Exactly. This is great.
So you guys are in the right place. You heard it here from Brian and Logan.
Fantastic. All right, we can get back to the presentation. Looks like some really good responses there. I assume we can review the final at the end there. All right, well, thank you everybody for answering that poll. That was pretty enlightening. So I want to start by walking through our roadmap from the past year and a half, as you can see on the screen here. We've been doing things on the side for years, but it was around last May that we decided to really get serious when I attended a dedicated AI and AEC, which is Architectural Engineering Construction Conference, with our CEO and COO. It completely changed the way we viewed the impact of AI in our industry, seeing how other companies were deploying AI. This led to our immediate internal creation of a dedicated innovation group within our company, which is one of our main critical takeaways from the conference. Innovation went from a part-time interest at Dunaway into a critical component in our business plan. We started allocating more resources for internal experimentation and engagements with our Microsoft industry partners and participation with Microsoft programs like the Enterprise Agent Challenge. We took what we learned and decided to create a company-wide agent as our first solution in order to give everyone a controlled, useful, and even fun way to get familiar with AI. We built this first agent to be a general use HR, IT, and accounting agent to handle all internal inquiries that would normally require a human to respond. In the process of building this agent, we got to engage our employees in a fun way by involving them in both the naming and the mascot for this AI agent. We encouraged them to use AI image creation tools in the process, which for most people became their first experience with AI. The name voted for by employees was Dave, which stands for Dunaway AI Virtual Expert. After a successful launch of Dave, which had an incredible impact, which included in reducing our IT tickets by 80%, and that was pretty incredible for us. We were ready to tackle our first big core business problem, which Logan's now going to get into. And we'll go to the next slide.
So the first place we wanted to take all of our learning to tackle a real core business problem had to do with the number 10,000. Because at Dunaway, we spend over 10,000 hours a year in viewing, searching, and interpreting information in regulatory documents and codes for all the different cities that we work in across Texas. These documents can be anywhere from 100 pages to 3,000 pages. And right now, the way that we've been doing it for years is just been scrolling through PDFs, looking at the table of contents, things like that. And for some of the cities that do have their PDFs hosted on code viewing websites, the only find tool that they have is a keyword search, which doesn't really help. And so this was the first area that we wanted to really tackle a full high impact solution with. And so we're going to go ahead and walk into how we design that solution now. So this is a diagram showing all the different systems that we integrated across Power Platform in order to turn this solution into really a full-blown product for our engineers to use on a daily basis. So we're going to start just at the top left and talk about the Excel manifest. As I mentioned, these documents have to do with cities all over Texas that we work with. And so our first major step that we had to do was collect all of the information on where those documents are located. And so we collected the over 100 URLs for where all these PDFs are located, along with some other metadata for the websites that they were hosted on. And we put that into a manifest with the help from our subject matter experts internally at Dunaway. We then built out an automated web scraper in Power Automate that will run on a weekly basis and take down all of those PDFs and store them into a storage on SharePoint. And this SharePoint storage is essentially our single point of truth for the company as far as city codes and regulations that we design according to. And that single source of truth is a really important aspect for us, because any sort of poor design and not living up to those regulations can mean months on our product delays, which is a lot of money for us and a lot of money for our clients that we work to keep happy. So then we started building in Copilot Studio. And we knew that we wanted to build in Copilot Studio because we wanted this to be a solution that was easy for people to interact with, that allowed us to do a lot of customization, and that we could finally deploy through Teams so that everyone could have easy access and familiar ways to communicate with it. We actually also ended up using an Azure Function app, which I'll get into here in a bit, but it was just another way in which we could use part of the Microsoft ecosystem to boost the functionality of what we were building. And the last thing I want to say about this as well is that in all the answers that we generate, which you're about to see, we always want to link back to that single source of truth, because we are really trying to push, and it's also very important to our engineers that we push the mentality of trust but verify when it comes to these tools that we're building right now. And with that, we can go ahead and get into the demo. So this is the starting screen that people see. It's a very easy to read card. And the first thing that you're going to do is, for the City Codes Assistant, is go in and select the city that you're going to talk to. So I'm going to go to the selector here. And in this case, we've got 11 cities loaded in so far as the recording of this demo. And then one that we're going to take a look at is Houston. You can also notice that there's an option under the main box to compare with another city. And this is what we could use if we wanted to, say, compare what Houston says about water lines versus what Austin says about water lines, in case that context was helpful. So we're going to go ahead and click Start. And the first thing that we're going to see is all of the knowledge that is currently loaded into Houston. And so this knowledge is all isolated to prevent any sort of hallucination or poor cross-references, so that you know exactly what you're asking questions against. So we have the Code of Ordinances, access management forms, things like that. We also have a top 50 questions report for easy Q&A viewing, especially at the beginning of projects. And we also have a Suggest Code Addition button in case there's something missing from the knowledge base that you think we should add. And like I said, single source of truth is important. And so these links actually direct you back to that SharePoint storage in case you just want to do some perusing the old-fashioned way. And so now I'm going to go in and ask a question. In this case, I'll be asking about water meter easement size, specifically for an 8-inch meter. The first thing that happens is the question gets enhanced. We have an enhancement AI prompt that will do things like expand the scope of the question, make corrections, increase clarity, so we can get good results on our answer cards. And once that answer card loads, you can see that a clear answer was found, which included information like minimum easement size, even some extra things that we didn't ask for, like access provisions, clearances, locations, things like that, that, you know, in engineering, it's sometimes it's the things that you don't even know to ask about that can be the most important. So in this case, we found 15 feet by 25 feet separate water meter easement continuous public right-of-way. And here we can click our citation that will take us directly to the page. And thanks to our custom PDF viewer, we'll also highlight the area that it got the information from so that we can kind of keep our place. And here, just a little bit lower than that highlight, you can see we've got the information that was reported in our answer. And so that's what our user interaction looks like. And they can even go in to ask similar questions, so that if I want to continue my line of questioning on this topic of water meters, then I can basically enter into a learning mode, which is especially helpful for our young engineers, or I can go back to asking my own question. And that's our complete demo. So now I just want to talk a bit about some of the technical challenges we faced. It has been a really wonderful learning process. But I mean, one of the things that Brian will mention as well is that every single thing we run into as an obstacle, we were always able to find a workaround to be able to give our engineers a product that they were really excited about using. So the first thing I wanted to mention there on the left side is that it was really important for our engineers, like I mentioned, to have those citations and to also have consistent card responses, so that it would make it easy for them to process what was going on and to see those results. And so the way that we approached that was by using adaptive cards for all of our answers. We really wanted to push consistency, and it also allowed us to place those citations in the exact way that we wanted. And in fact, we actually built in some things ourselves. Maybe you're familiar normally with how citations will normally just take you to the PDF and not an exact page number. Well, we built basically a manual construction in, so that whenever a chunk was returned that was then used to form the answer, a lot of times, about 70% of the time, that chunk contained information on the page that it came from. And so we were able to basically strip that out and insert it into our citation construction so that we could send you directly back to the page. But like I just said, it only worked maybe about 70% of the time. And that's where that middle column comes in. And we started using Azure Function Apps as a sort of supplement to make up for whenever it couldn't find a citation source. Essentially, we've got a function app that's always available, that's as a HTTP hit, where we have our PDFs that were processed with Python into JSON format, and we have a Python matching function, essentially, that will match the information from the chunk that was used to construct the answer against all of the text under all of the different pages in order to basically score what page that chunk came from. And so that's how we're able to collect information on missing page numbers. That 30% of the time where we don't find it initially, we can always make sure that we get a hold of it to increase that citation reliability. And then finally, a lot of these documents, like I said, they're very long. A lot of them are very dense with bad formatting and complex writing, and they're not very easy to look at. And so that's why we wanted to build our custom PDF viewer, which is JavaScript. That's also actually hosted on Azure, to be able to highlight just a section of the found information, so that as you're scrolling and as you're looking around, you can just kind of help keep your place. Because with a lot of them, it's very dull to look at. And so it's just kind of a helpful thing for us to have, just to make it that much easier for you to help verify the information that you're given. And that's all I have. Passing it to Brian now.
All right. We want to finish up our presentation by leaving you with advice from what we've learned over the past 2 years. The first one being, get your leadership on board, which, based on the poll we just saw, might not be a problem for most of you. It's very hard to make change without help from the top. We recommend finding an AI conference specific to your industry and get your senior leadership to attend. Seeing what your competitors are doing will light a fire and get them on board pretty quickly. Second, beta test and iterate, then deploy. Don't wait for the solution to be perfect. It probably never will. And Power Platform and Copilot Studio allow you to rapidly iterate and roll out updates within minutes of finding an issue. Third, choose the right starting point. Don't hyper-focus on one solution that will solve a single issue. Start with a solution that will compound on itself and have a wider reach so that you can have a bigger impact faster. One example of that is the few things that Logan just mentioned, the technical challenges we were able to apply directly into our original Dave agent and improve that across the company. So every fix we make to an agent, we're able to apply across the board, which is a very powerful use case for Copilot Studio. Last would be dream bigger. Almost anything you want to do is possible within the Power Platform ecosystem. As you can see from the previous slide, we have yet to hit a roadblock we can't get past by using AI to help us find a solution or a workaround. And with that, that's all we have for you today. And I appreciate and thank you for listening.
Brian and Logan, thank you so much for a great presentation and demo. We were super excited to see this. It's an absolutely wonderful example of a great agentic solution. this automated document review solution it significantly reduces the manual effort, and it's wonderful to see how it can definitely improve accuracy, ensure compliance, and boost productivity among your engineers. Thank you so much. So just a reminder, we are happy to receive insightful questions. I see that we've already started showing up some questions in the poll. Definitely make sure to submit your questions there. We will definitely highlight at the end. Ashley and Samir are also going to share out the poll as we go through the chat. So please submit your questions there, and we will select them from the discussion. So now, it is my pleasure to introduce our next speakers, Alessio and Stefan from Informatica Alto Adige. It's a leading IT services provider supporting regions and other authorities in Sultral, Italy. The organization sought a more manageable solution that would simplify citizens' access to vital public services. So I'm going to hand this off to Stefan and Alessio. Please take it away.
Thank you very much from my side. Brief introduction, short introduction about ourselves. First of all, we are located in the north of Italy, near the border to Austria. Therefore, we are bilingual. I'm German-speaking South Tyrolean, and Alessio is Italian-speaking South Tyrolean. And in 2 weeks, we will have the Olympic Winter Games in our region. So we will hope to see great games. Informatica Alto Adige is the IT service provider for our local government and healthcare system. We are providing approximately 350 IT services every day to roughly 500,000 citizens and roughly 30,000 employees of the local public administration. Public administration in Italy is much wider, much broader than in the US. So please take into account that we have completely different system. We are rebuilding our single point of contact for our citizen using AI, and Alessia will show and will explain you. And the important change for our public administration is she will become proactive. And the change from passive to proactive is really exciting. And now, please, Alessio, it's up to you. Thank you.
Yeah, good evening or good morning, depending on where you are located. Here is evening, of course. Today we want to present our journey, which begins with data and evolves into responsible AI. It's written on the slide. As the director said, the My Civis 4.0 and Project Emma, which is basically an agent in Copilot Studio, we create solutions that support citizens. That's our aim through reliable and high quality digital services. But before moving on, as Dunaway made, we would like to start with a quick poll to understand your expectation and your level of familiarity with AI within the public administration. So this is the question: how prepared is your organization data foundation for responsible AI?
Okay, some good responses. Is this what you guys expected? I know I asked Dunaway that too, but I'm just curious. Anything surprising here?
Which is surprising me, the highly prepared. I'm quite surprised by that. But yeah, please, Stefan.
Yeah, and for the record, we are subject to European AI regulation, and maybe Therefore, we have more easier access to think about to think about these questions about responsible AI. We have to do so imposed by our regulations.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Let's move on. Let's try. Okay. I cannot share the screen anymore. It's locked by me, but let's do like that. You can go on with the presentation by Microsoft if you can, because it's blocked by me, the sharing capability right now. Great, thank you for support. Okay, so as Stefan mentioned, SIAG acts as the technological backbone of the autonomous province of Bolzano, located in the north part of Italy. And we are a shared service provider. That means that we guarantee security, continuity, and innovation to the entire public administration, delivering services that institutions and, of course, citizens can rely on. Next, thank you. Citizens, as ourselves, often seek answers during delicate moments. So you have a need, and you need to ask to the public administration, and the public offices must therefore respond with clarity, fairness, consistency, and Stefan mentioned multilingual region like ours. We can have an essential need and help by AI, which is strengthening our trust when using responsibly, of course. Next, move on. Thank you. Between 2019 and 2022, we built a foundation, as you can see here. We've recognized that the data are public assets. As you may don't know, within the public administration, each department owns their data. So they cannot share between department itself. So they are silos. So we started thinking about a systemic thinking replacing silos. We built up the first data catalog, and of course we connected data that may be not connected so easy in the past. So creating new data sets and new data product that can be used by services, by interoperability, and of course by AI. In 2023, we established a team which was dedicated to AI capabilities, and we delivered the first production use case using basically RAG, so retrieval augmented generation. This was crucial because we don't start as technicians thinking about the use case. We went to the people, we sat side by side to them at their desk, and we focus on their own work. So we ask, which are your pains? And they show us really good use cases. Basically was summarizing PDF, which was really basic, but it due time during their work. Of course, also summarizing emails, responding to emails, acting with some knowledge base on SharePoint, or uploading PDF and ask questions to the PDF. So we combine open source tools with Azure AI Foundry, that at that time was the first tool that we were used to develop into. And we ensure with these small use cases, scalability, security, and responsible development. Then our roadmap move on to consolidation and scale. The last 2 years, we consolidated and scaling, of course. We established Lab.ai in partnership with Microsoft itself in Italy. We start using Copilot and we roll out Copilot to all the public officers. We started using Copilot Studio. we establish a new data platform, which name is Data Bloom, which is basically developed on Azure with Databricks, Azure connectivity services, service bus, and so on, where all our data scientists and engineers and analysts are daily working for creating new assets for the public administration. And finally, our Project Emma, which is an agentic AI, basically responding to the citizen needs in natural language, because we shall say something very clear to you. In Italy and also in Europe, the wording of the public administration is not too easy to be understood by people. Why we adopt a new portal with an agentic AI that can be used by people? Because they can speak their own languages, basically. Natural language, easy, and the system, as we can see after in the demo, is pre-formatting all their needs into technical questions using technical wording, but everyone can deep dive into it by her own knowledge. So the value for now is very tangible because we are collecting KPI. We saw that now is easier to assess public information. That means that the officer itself has more time for focus on their work. We have consistent and traceable answer as it's written in the slide. Basically, this is how technology becomes an enabler, not a burden for our side. We have learned key lessons, of course, during our roadmap. The governance protect rather than slow down. So our limit in the agent are not that we don't want to provide an answer, a generative answer. If we don't provide an answer, so the agent cannot give a question, is because we want to focus on the official data. Therefore, it's not a RAG. It's basically a talk to data with our own natural language. We can move on to the next slide. Thank you. Perfect. So I want just you to focus on the two last point on that slide. Nowadays, you are always listening to people, also to Medium, also to LinkedIn, everywhere that say human in the loop. I do agree, but I will add you a point. We are thinking human over the loop. So the AI is giving assistant, AI is giving enabling capabilities, but responsibility remains human. And of course, each of our interaction are based on transparency and source-based answer, because as Stefan mentioned before, the AI Act in Europe is saying that we shall be transparent with the source where the generative answer is generated from. So this was just a brief introduction from the public administration and how our roadmap to AI was. Then I want you to show our development tool, which is installed on the platform that we are rolling out to the citizens, the new website, which is built in Power Pages. We have a strong data on Dataverse, so we are collecting every single information to knowledge-based articles that AI can read, compose, and return to the citizen itself. We have strong Power Automate pipelines with human in the loop and over the loop by approval steps. So let's look to the video. Okay, it's not present, so I will try to share, but I cannot share. Let's wait.
Stefan, can you try sharing your screen for the demo?
I did not have the video with me. Where can I find the video?
No, it's in the slide, but no problem. I guess that I can try.
Yes, I can share my video.
Let's try. I forced Macintosh somebody. Okay, so I will move on fast on all the slides. There it is. So this is the homepage of our new citizen relationship management pages. As we said before, here is a catalog of the public service. In the previous version, there was just a flat catalog. You shall go inside, search for domains, then look for your needs, use filters, and finally you get the answer, hopefully. Now we inserted a sort of perplexity-based concept where I can insert just a question and I interact with natural language process through Copilot Studio, so an agent directly with a knowledge base. As you can see here, sorry for the Italian, but as we mentioned, we are Italian and German-based region. The answer is somehow analyzed by the system. That means on the divide and conquer principle is subdivided in different questions. The system is analyzing all the questions and checking for keywords. Then there is a first trial checking the data on the basic Dataverse knowledge articles. If it's not getting precisely its answer, therefore, I mentioned trustworthy, it's trying to get a precise answer in different way by title, by content, by requirements, and finally it is presenting an aggregated version, title, brief description, and link to the service. We don't provide any answer since all the gates are completed. So if we were not using talk to data, so the Dataverse and providing OData queries or to Databricks by SQL, we cannot guarantee by RAG. We can also provide with RAG precisely information, but not on that level. So we change also by the support by Microsoft on the concept to interacting directly with the data. And here, what you can see, it's 100% what the department wrote inside the knowledge articles inside Dynamics 365. Then I move on with another concept. Now I'm asking grants for children. The system is analyzing as well my answer, my question, because the cache of the chat is not providing that kind of information. So restart the processing, analyzing, thinking about what is asking for children, grants, trying to get the data, synchronize the data among the different knowledge base and sources, synchronize with Databricks for ensuring that the service catalog is also governed, because under Databricks we install in Unity Catalog our data governance, and finally I get the answer. We were too quick, I know, it's in Italian, I know, but what we want to show you is the different type of approach. Rather than searching into website, we interact easy in a chat. We get information. If we want to deep dive, we ask for more information. That's it. It's how me, as a citizen, as a father, I would like the public administration to be. I don't want to spend time over the phone. I don't want to spend time by sending emails. I just go here, I ask, I get the answer. And the public administration, we as well, are providing certified answer because are based on certified and public data. So I finish from my storytelling. I will leave the word to Stefan if you want to add something more. Thank you for, of course, your attention.
Yes, only the huge transition. I will re-mention the huge transition that the public administration will find ahead, and that's be proactive. The public administration knows the citizens and suggests the services that fits better for his actual lifespan or family situation or income situation or rent situation or whatever the citizen needs. That's key factor for me, and it's not only technological issue, it's a big change management issue and change of mindset. And Microsoft helps us on the technological side, and we are glad to use Microsoft for that. Thank you very much. Please, Luca.
Thank you so much for such a great presentation and demo, Alicia and Stefan. It was very educational. So with this well-defined strategy and your considered approach, these solutions provide a centralized view of your citizens' interactions, and it gives them a easiest access to the services information. So it leads to a very profound impact. And once again, thank you so much for the presentation. It was great. Will now transition to the second part of our webinar, which is the Q&A panel session. Before we begin, Ashley will provide some brief announcements. Ashley, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Yes. So like everyone said, thank you so much to our speakers, and we are getting to your favorite part, the Q&A. But before that, we do want to hear what you guys thought about the session. So please go to this link and just give us some feedback. I'm going to take 1 minute where I am quiet and I give you guys that time. It's going to feel like a minute, but for a long time, but I promise it's just 1 minute. And we really, really want to hear exactly what you have to say. If we should keep doing these, what customers you want to see next. Yeah, all feedback is appreciated.
I'll add a plug for this, folks, as folks are doing this. Super useful for us, so we know whether, do we continue this real world stories focus in here. So please fill this out, and then we'll jump into a Q&A section.
Okay, I hope you guys really were able to share. And if you have more to add, please keep filling out the feedback. And while you're doing that, I do want to share that we have some exciting sessions. So if you guys don't know, or maybe you do know, we're doing an Agent 365 series this January. We've already had 2 sessions, and then we have 2 more coming up. So you don't want to miss this. We have some top speakers in the Agent 365 space, and we really just wanted to make sure you guys were all caught up on what's happening with that. And then we have our standard sessions. We have upcoming in January and February. So please sign up for those. The links to both the A365 and the standard sessions are going to be in the chat. And now your favorite part, the Q&A. So hopefully you guys are able to give us some feedback and sign up for some sessions. And I'm going to move over to the Q&A. So just let me know once you guys can see my screen. Okay. Awesome. And Samir, I think you probably have some questions as well. So, just you have the floor. Let me know which ones, if any.
Let's do this. So, I'm going to give people homework. A lot of great questions here. Thank you very much. Take a few seconds to scan through, and please vote up the ones that you think are most valuable for you, so we can go in that order. Also, Ashley, Lupe, I didn't tell you guys, but if you go over to the live poll section, I'm curious to hear from the audience as well. So I dropped in a question there. We heard from, and Ashley, if you don't mind doing present results, this is just for later. Curious to snap it at the end. But audience, all of you listening in, what are some AI and agentic use cases that you're working on? Hopefully you got inspired by these speakers, and please drop that in here. And with that, Ashley, we can go back to the audience Q&A tab. Thanks. I'll let you know when we shuffle back. But thanks folks for voting things things up. Since we have got a healthy set of questions in here, I can park some of my questions for later. Why don't we actually start with these itself? And so, question, and this one actually seems relevant to both, so I'm going to throw it out and people can decide, our panelists who wants to take it. But essentially, seems like most of the use cases, today are focused on conversational agents, right? People are typing in like the chatbot style agent. Are you guys also moving beyond chat to utilize kind of autonomous tools, event-driven triggers, live data connections, think about like the full other types of agentic use cases? So I don't know.
Yeah, I can
take Brian, you want to take that?
Yeah, I can take this one because we have a really good example. I would say that we decided to start with conversational agents because the majority of our company, we did a survey and more than 50% of them were not comfortable with using AI. So this was kind of our foray into getting them used to it. Right now, we're starting on a new project using everything we've learned from the agents, which is going to essentially create a dashboard for each project. And it's going to pull in Teams meetings transcripts, project emails from Outlook groups, project OneNotes, files and proposals from the project SharePoint, and then also our on-prem SQL server. We built our own in-house project management software that runs on SQL. And so we're going to combine all of that information and process it using AI prompts, and then create a dashboard that is client-facing that will essentially create a client check-in point. So for any projects, they can sign into our portal and view the status of their projects. And it's all going to be agentic, so our PMs don't really have to do much beyond just their job, which is attend meetings and take notes and file their emails. So yes, we're definitely moving beyond conversational agents.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks for that, Alessio.
Yeah, if I may add something with this question, we do have in our portal autonomous agents we are working on in a process, which is the onboarding feature about proactivity by the citizen. So if I accept the proactivity functionality of the portal, my information are passed through the Unity catalog in Databricks, anonymized, and an agent itself is evaluating my profile compared to each system and each service by the public administration, then is returning to the system itself an aggregated view of the public service that might match my interest and my family and my life, let's say. So more than the chat, in the background, Databricks as a data intelligence platform is doing much more. But of course, as you know, the chat is more fancy and sexy to be presented.
Yeah, makes sense. And I'll add, it's so common, and I would even encourage folks who see, whether it's the Ignite presentations, others, a number of our leaders talked about the different tiers and how it evolves. And so starting with that conversational agent is a great place to start, like Brian, you mentioned, and then you can keep getting more sophisticated. Great way to get your kind of, because a key other thing is, don't let the complex and great come in the way of the good. So get started, right? Okay, let's take the next one, which is focused on Copilot Studio. So on this, you guys have had experience now, but any key kind of limitations that you came up against? And I know when we talk about limitation, might be there's always these products are constantly evolving. But did you come up against some key challenges, limitations compared to between Copilot Studio and other AI agentic frameworks? Feel free to broaden the question if it's not Copilot Studio. Maybe some key challenges or limitations that you ran up against as you were going through your journey.
Yeah, if you want, I can share my experience. I would not use the word limitation. Let's see. Copilot Studio is sort of agentic framework, low code, no code. You can do something more, inserting tools and topics, but you shall accept the rules. So it's not fully orchestrated by an orchestrator LLM. It's a mix between LLM and the old Power Virtual Agent framework, where topics govern the decision, let's say. We start from this limitation, as the questions say, and we turn into our governance. So we use all the limitation of Copilot into rule-based that are suitable for the public administration. Of course, if you want to build from scratch your agentic framework, it's not the right solution, but could be one. You shall read through the features and accept the features and do a sort of quick match by requirements. From my side, as a software engineer, I like AI Foundry, but it's another work.
Great. No, thank you for that. Anything that the Dunaway team wants to add on? You don't have to. We've got a lot of great questions.
Yeah, not too much to add on. We've been very impressed that although Copilot Studio does come with these certain kind of lanes that you can make it go into, generated orchestration, more rule-based stuff like that, we've been able to really bleed the lines in whatever ways that we want to, and introduce other tools like function apps and things like that to really make Copilot Studio the central hub, but to connect the whole ecosystem essentially into the way that we're using it.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Sounds like you've kind of, through your journey, you've got a real understanding of the constraints, and then it's about you're able to create integrations.
Yeah.
And sometimes we talk about the no cliffs approach, because you can integrate different pieces to make it work for you. So that's great to hear. This next one, actually, I'd love so. It's related to compliance. What are some of the most important compliance-related topics to keep in mind when working with agentic AI, and also specifically preventing sensitive information? But I'll also expand this to be, especially Informatica, you guys talked about responsible AI and the value of it. And it really struck me because, we're all citizens, especially in the public services, citizens, regardless of what our roles might be at work. Everyone on this call, all of us are citizens. And so it's great to know that responsible AI is top of mind for you. Would love for you to talk a bit more about what are some specific ones related to compliance and any other responsible AI topics that folks should really keep in mind.
Yeah, from one side, we shall admit that the public service description are open data by definition. So we shall not apply any governance-based rule apart from official wording. From the other side, on the proactive agent tool, we adopt the Unity catalog and, of course, also triggers by purview to intercept personal data, apply rules, and, of course, to hashing of information where shall not be needed. And we apply a short list of information that are suitable for providing the proactivity tool. So, and stop it. I make you a brief example. I have a son and a daughter, 4 and 1 year respectively old. The system does not recognize that I have a son and a daughter. It's just writing children and the relevant birth date. That's it. Because this is sufficient for our public service to be processed and know the connection between children and public service. We don't need the name, we don't need anything else. Of course, I don't need to share my address because they know that I live in Bolzano. That is sufficient. I don't share my email because it's not needed for the public service. So you shall start, as we presented in the roadmap, thinking about your data. I would suggest you all to think about medallion architecture, starting from bronze to silver to golden data, so that you ensure the principle that the golden data is data driving or your solution. And of course, the agents interact with the golden data which are official. then compliance is always under the desk. So it could be that your legal affairs one day is knocking on the door and say, hey, guy, not do that. It's also our daily life about privacy and GDPR in Italy and in Europe. Could be. But of course, thinking about presenting and inserting into the system a short list of data that are sufficiently needed for giving the answer, for me, is the daily work.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And folks, wow, time goes by really quick. I do want to take, I'm going to throw one last question as we close out over here. And actually, if you don't mind, you can switch over to the live poll. Also curious to just see a flash of what folks have pasted here, onboarding agents. Awesome. So again, audience, if you guys have more use cases you want to share with us and our panel here, great to see this. One closing question for each of, that each of you can quickly speak through in 30 seconds or so each, is what's one thing you want to leave people here with, right, as they go on their agentic journey, wherever they might be on that journey. So kind of one quick closing thought from each of you. We can start perhaps with Brian from Dunaway.
Yeah, I think for us, what we've learned is, I'll reiterate the dream bigger piece from our presentation, that I think a lot of people are thinking too small. And it once you do the one small thing and prove that you can do it, go really big, because anything is really possible with the Power Platform. I'll reiterate that again. It's pretty incredible what you can do the more you learn about it. And the more you learn about it is you start building things. So start building things and then realize, okay, this is not big enough. I need to add to it, make it bigger and bigger. And the bigger it is, the bigger impact you'll have. So for us, we started with just that simple HR IT agent, like, okay, this is impactful. We need to do something bigger. So that would be my advice.
Thanks, Brian. Dream bigger, go bigger. Logan?
Sure. Aside from that, it's really good to follow people who can help you stay up to date on the newest capabilities, right? Like the difference between doing a SharePoint knowledge connection that utilizes Dataverse indexing and one that doesn't utilize Dataverse indexing. And that's a totally different world. But follow the YouTubers. We work with our consultants at Microwave to help us kind of stay up to date on things. But there's always new tools coming out, and that's part of the way that we've been able to stay ahead and to find these workarounds. And that's what's leading us now to, it feels like we're laying the foundation right now for the future of our company, where we're going to be using these things on a daily basis in every single arm of our business. And so it's a lot of cool things ahead for us.
Awesome. Thanks. Like you're not alone in it. There's a whole big community and a bunch of people out there to follow and learn from and grow. Awesome. Alessio, Informatica.
It's difficult to add something new. I would just say fail first. So do, try, error, understand, and restart from scratch, because this technologies is evolving so fast that you shall not follow. You shall somehow be the first one to use it, the first one to fail, and then you, with your community, with your partner, with Microsoft and all the others you have, you can do it bigger, as it was said before.
Awesome. Thanks, Alessio. And Stefan, you get to close us out over here. What's a final thought from you?
Final thought for me is with AI and with our partner Microsoft in that case, we can reshape the relationship between public administration and citizen. And we can help citizen to be better served, more faster, and really that the public money is well spent.
Awesome. I know we went a bit over. Thank you again, like huge thanks. Ashley, Lupe, I'll hand back to you.
Yeah, I would love to thank Brian, Logan, Alessio, and Stefan for sharing your journey with the audience today. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. Hope you were able to get some good ideas and were inspired to try something new with your new agentic approach. I'd like also to thank the CAT webinar team, especially Ashley, for your support. And thank you, Samir, as well, for your support.
I just wanted to say thank you guys and have a good evening, night, morning, afternoon. And we hope to see you at our next sessions. Okay, guys. Thank you.